Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Austin McCulloh with us. Austin is founder at replies. We're going to discuss about outreach, outbound, AI, replies, and so forth, because I have questions regarding this, and so does the audience here. Austin exited his agency not so long ago, so we're also going to talk about having exits. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts like this one, or find sponsors, if you want to monetize podcasting, you can go to podpire.com. Austin, welcome to the pod. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and about Replysist?
Sure. And I'll keep that short. And also thank you for bringing me on the show. It's going to be a good talk. A little bit about myself. I've been in entrepreneurship for about 7 years now. I wasn't somebody who wanted to get into entrepreneurship. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. You know how some people are just gung-ho and they're like, this is exactly what I want to do. I just stumbled into it. And I think that worked out well for me. On the Reply Assist end, currently founder of Reply Assist. What it is, it's a sales/prospecting chatbot, whatever you want to term it, for financial advisors to reduce a lot of their prospecting work so that they can get meetings scheduled. Obviously, we'll get more into it, but I just wanted to give a high-level overview so that listeners know what we're working on currently.
Right. For the agency that you exited, tell us about that story. I think that could be a great start because I saw you founded some other companies when you were in college, but the agency itself, how long did it take you to build it? What was it about? How much clients did you had? And who was the acquirer?
Yes. And if I forget to touch on any of the topics, let me know. I can forget some stuff. So anyways, started the business the beginning of 2020, technically the end of 2019. And it started out as a coaching business. Now I could get into why, but I mean, if you have more questions, let me know. But it was really that I wanted to help people not go down a path that they don't want to go down. A lot of people feel like because of their parents or some of the family members of the school that they go to, they think that they have to go down this corporate America route, if they're from America, of course, like this corporate work route where you don't have to. I mean, you know, anybody who, we both understand this, a lot of people understand it, but a lot of people don't. Anybody who achieves anything substantial, they're not like, it's not like you'd have all the details from the start. And so nobody ever takes that risk. And so that was the real inspiration behind starting. It was called at the time Austin McCulloh Advising, was helping people go down a route that they felt like they could have success in, but they weren't really positive. Now that translated over time into the marketing agency that ended up selling, because I actually had a really, really hard time selling the coaching service. For the most part, what I was selling when I was monetizing was one-on-one coaching. Charles, have you ever done any of that?
Yes, I still
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it was actually fun. And some of my clients at the time are some of my closest friends now. So it was a great experience in terms of where I was at in life. But personally, it wasn't a great fit for me. I didn't like it. And I hate being on a ton of calls. So actually, Charles, you're on a lot more calls than I am. I try to, I call it I've called trauma at this point because I've been on too many. But anyways, get back on track. What I realized did sell better though was the lead generation piece. Um, while I was in college, I was a financial advisor. And so I've been around a lot of financial advisors over the years. And what I realized that a lot of them struggled with was closing clients. And it's not because they don't know how to sell to people when they're on the call, but they don't know how to get people on calls. So they don't have enough prospects. So that's where the lead generation comes into play, is they needed to get in front of more people, to have more conversations, get more meetings set. And this was right around 2021 at the time when COVID was setting in. So a lot of financial advisors weren't able to go door to door knocking to local businesses to find business. They had to look to social media. So I actually at the same time had gotten started with the lead generation software, and it was Connected, if anybody wants to know. But I was using Connected to automate my LinkedIn invites and messages being sent to automatically start conversations on LinkedIn. I did a ton of that. Actually, something we didn't touch on. Just for context, I've sent about 33,000 invites on LinkedIn by now because of that over the years. I've responded over 12,000 one-on-one conversations. That's not 12,000 responses, it's just 12,000 different conversations. So the responses number is much higher. That's led to about 700 meetings booked. And so what I was doing is I was taking my expertise just from doing the work day after day after day. And then I also leveraged the fact that I understood financial services. So I found the niche target market to go after. And then I paired my expertise with that to help these financial advisors, different financial representatives with their lead generation.
Right.
If so, I know you were asking about the exit. What other questions did I not touch on?
Well, the exit itself, like how did it happen? Who acquired you? Like how did you get on their radar? And yeah, how life changing was it?
Oh, that's a good last question. That's the big one. So I actually listed the business on Empire Flippers. If anybody, it's kind of like Microacquire, if anybody has ever heard of that, or technically it's Acquire now. I think they rebranded. But I was at the stage where the business was pretty steady, and I'd always wanted to get into software, but I didn't want to force it. Um, there was actually a video that reinforced the point and it better articulates it than how I would have thought of it a year ago. But Naval, is it Ravikant? Do you know which name I'm talking about? He's a
Yeah.
genius, but he talks about productizing yourself. And that's really what we're doing with Reply Assist. Not because I'm a genius, I'm far from that, but because I've done so many reps of prospecting and we're building it for LinkedIn specifically, that is my expertise, bread and butter. It's not entrepreneur, it's not sales, like it's not sales calls. I'm actually not a great salesperson, but I'm a really good prospector because I've done it a lot. Not even just that, but growing up throughout high school through college. And so well, I kind of got off track, but anyways, Empire Flippers sold it to an individual, Mike Q, who runs the business now. Awesome individual. Actually, do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Yep.
In Mike's first ever, I figured you would. In Mike's first ever message to me, he actually referenced Alex in the message, and I'm a big like gut feelings person. I like facts as well, but like if I feel like something's right in my gut, I can just kind of tell. I like to plug into my gut intuition. And he said something about, I believe it was Alex's book, $100 million offers, and I was like, all right, this guy's pretty unique. So we started talking, and then to answer the last bit, in terms of life changing, immensely. I'm somebody who a lot of what drives me is proving myself to others and proving myself to myself. And being able to say that I had an exit it was really good affirmation. Like obviously the business growing, making money, that's nice. By the way, to answer another question that you asked, we had a few hundred clients. So I almost forgot about that one, but it came back to me. Having the exit was just like start to finish. And it's really cool to think about. I don't know if you have ever had one before or not, but and soon, right? Or not soon. Like I don't know anything about your business. I'm just saying if you plan to ever
Want
have
to
one.
scale, like ideally I wouldn't have to sell anything. There would just be major cash flow coming from multiple sources, but anything that I'm not passionate about or that is making me lose money or in some kind is not beneficial to my whole business ecosystem, I'd sell it. Yeah, I'd cut it off, but not so far.
Fair. But it was life changing. And actually, ironically, this is something that I'm sure some of the listeners will pick up value on. I think a lot of people get into entrepreneurship because they hear about exits and they're like, whoa, that's what I want. I want to go grow this business and sell it. Honestly, that was something that enticed me about entrepreneurship earlier on. I was like, I think that's really cool if I have a huge exit. But now it's this weird dichotomy with me building Reply Assist. Reply Assist will be a much bigger business, and I'm not building it to sell, but that's what's going to make it attractive to buyers in the future. Is because I'm not building it around me. Like even the last business, it started out Austin McCulloh Advising, which meant it was named after me. Like it's all these little factors of how we're building it with the right way. Not because I have any intention to sell it anytime soon, but because when you build a business like that, you're not the bottleneck anymore. So it's just interesting having this experience of the exit and seeing what was attractive to Mike who bought the business versus what stuff wasn't, because it's given me confirmation of how to build this next business, Reply Assist.
Right. And 100 clients, let's say that they paid $600 a month each. So that's a 60K MRR. Is that
We weren't at that much in MRR. Our clients varied. That was one thing that we actually changed a lot throughout the years is we experimented a lot with pricing. Have you played around with pricing much?
a lot, but it's only gone up. It started at $300 a month and nowadays it's 2.5K.
Yeah,
And I'm about to take it to 3.5.
very cool. Very cool. Pricing is an interesting one because, and I don't need to go off on some long tangent, but um, I'm not some, well, I was going to go down a wrap, but anyways, long story short, we experimented with it a lot just to see how people would buy at certain price points. Because, for example, obviously, the lower that you go, the easier it is to sell it. But if you go too low, then you get a different type of client base, right? That's even something that we're playing around with and toying around with is like for reply assist, do we do a free trial? Do we not? If we do, how many days do we do it for? Do we want to have an upfront fee or not? Because just for transparency, we are probably going to be actually officially launching and monetizing Reply Assist in December. We need to do our beta test first. We're nailing down some pieces of the software right now. And the pricing still isn't dead set yet. And it kind of depends on how our beta test goes. Hopefully that's helpful to hear.
So basically, the exit, I'm guessing you had 250K, 500K check for your agency, sort of. Is
Yeah.
that in the ballpark? Okay.
Yep.
And the acquirer, like, who is it? Why did they acquire you? Because that's also, I think acquisition is more on my radar than selling, you know, like on my side, it's more like acquire these businesses and build that empire. So how could you be useful to their business and their little empire that they're building?
The one theme that really stood out to me, and this is something that Mike and I talked about, but it hasn't been for months, so it's not as clear in my mind. But what is clear is the sales component of being in control of a lot of people don't know outbound sales well. And that was one thing that our business did really well. And so part of it was for rather than him figuring out how to start a marketing agency on his own and figuring out what systems have in place, what type of client support processes do you have in place, a team, he just bought the business so that he could step into it and take over right from the beginning. Now, his selling angle is different. He didn't have the financial services experience that I did, but he brings a more technical background. So he wanted to systematize the business more to reduce more human labor required so that the business would be more scalable.
Right.
Yeah.
What followed from there? You know, so you got the check, you got the money, you probably invested that in either a house, car, or something that you dreamt about.
Mm-hmm.
And what came after? Like, were you still working at the agency for a while and transitioning out? And how did the reply assist idea came about?
Good questions. I honestly that you asked really good questions. That you asked like four right there that were all solid. So let me touch on a few things. First things first, I was like semi-retired for the, well, actually, no, what was first was I worked for the business full time still without pay for the first month just to make sure it was a smooth transition. From there, I was semi-retired for a month. And I got to say to any of the listeners, it was boring as hell. I know you like raw transparency. It was actually, it showed me that having purpose in life is really important. I'm 26 years old now. So when the exit officially closed, I think I was still 25. If not, it was a couple days later because we wanted to have it closed by my birthday, which was in February. But like I always thought it'd be really cool to be able to just sit and lounge around. And I remember watching, I think it was called, there's some Netflix show on the PGA Tour golfers. It's like Top Swing or something like that. And I remember watching it and I was bored out of my mind. I was like, this is all we got to do. Obviously, I didn't have millions and millions and millions that I could just go retire for the rest of my life. But like I wanted to get a taste of what it would be like to actually not have to work. So I took some time away from Reply Assist. But Reply Assist was actually an idea that really started formulating when I was ironically down in Mexico. I was on a family trip to Mexico with my parents, my sister. And I remember talking on the van back to the airport with them about, I go, gosh, I could take all this experience that I have, put it into a software, because I see how much financial advisors struggle with responding to messages, even with guidance. So with AI really picking up, rather than trying to show them the way, why not just do it for them? Like, for example, I actually saw a really good article on this the other day. Reply Assist is not a productivity tool. You know how there are a lot of productivity tools, like, for example, you can't go to this website because it's going to distract you. That's not what we are. We are a work elimination tool. Like, financial advisors spend half their time financial advising, not half, but just they juggle it. Financial advising for providing financial guidance to clients. And the other half, they spend really selling. If they're the best financial advisors who want to have clients who like them for that, why should they be spending a lot of their time selling? And so I just figured if we could eliminate half of this work and hours on hours of time spent prospecting through messaging, follow-ups, scheduling meetings for financial advisors, that'd be pretty damn valuable. And so I'm excited, to be completely honest, which I should be.
Yeah, replies are quite important because any lead gen agency knows that once you get a reply from your first message, you sort of need to personalize the message, yet also include all your information. So the classic way to do it is a template, and you modify the first lines of a template, but that takes some time. So me, for example, I get around probably 100 positive replies per day in my mailbox. That's a lot, you know. So sometimes I reply myself, sometimes I have an assistant do it, but I just love a tool in my mailbox that could take my template, right? What I do, take the info of the prospect and be a bridge in between.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Open AI's API, and it's called Whispered API, and so that we could have a personalized reply to that prospect. I see very few apps with that, you know, oddly enough, and I think you're doing that, but via LinkedIn. So tell me about like the vision behind Reply Assist and what you want to build with AI, at least on the phase one, the beta phase, and where do you see it in the next couple of years?
Good questions. One thing to pre-frame is I was in the same scenario that you were in. There's a lot of inbound AI sales tools out there, but there's not a lot of outbound. And so, for example, there are a lot of tools that, like, they'll have a website chatbot. But if somebody comes to your website, they're interested. It's like the example I always give. If somebody goes into Victoria's Secret, they don't want a basketball. Like, they're looking for like a bra or something, right? And so already know what they want. And so you need an outbound sales chatbot where you are generating the interest and getting attention from the prospect. It's a completely different type. To answer another thing that you said, the real long-term vision of Reply Assist is we want to create the best salesperson in the world that is driven by AI. And we have the technology to make it happen. It's just there's a lot of guidance that goes into it. Like, there's sentiment analysis. There's making sure that you are selling the right way to the right niche. Like, they're just many people just think, I was thinking about this actually before the podcast started. A lot of people think you could just take AI and slap it on, it's going to solve all the problems. No, you need, at least currently, you need to guide it a lot. And we could get into that as well. And then the long term, obviously that's the longest term vision. But currently, we want to do a really good job in the financial services space. We've actually been talking about that with some people recently. They're like, I've actually had some people go, can you create, can you let us use Reply Assist, even though they're not a financial advisor? I'm like, I'd love to have your interest, but no, because we're creating this for currently for financial advisors doing client acquisition. Like, that's so niche. We're not even doing financial advisors who want to recruit other financial advisors, because that's a complete different sales conversation. So we may create another chatbot like that, but that's not even on our radar right now. We just want to get really good at one thing, because that's how you really gain traction. Actually, that was something, speaking of OpenAI, Sam Altman was talking about. And all the companies that he's invested in, he's like, what they've done really well is they cast more of a narrow net rather than a large net. And fortunately, that was what helped me actually get to the point of being able to sell my last business. That's why I have such high conviction in building replies this way. But yeah, does that answer the question?
It does. For people to make a quick experimentation, and understand what we're saying here, I have a bunch of clients in various fields, but let's say that I send them an email for the podcast, right? First name, would love to have you on the podcast and interview you. We would talk about company tag and vertical tag if I'm using Apollo. Then if I get a reply, yes, basically, ideally, right, in my email client or in my LinkedIn, click a button, and ideally the AI would almost write instantly with the GPT 3.5 turbo speed. And it would go to the prospect's website, right, and would scrape the first page, and with that first page it would have a prompt with that information on the prospect. Please write the template of the podcast, which is like all the info of the podcast, while personalizing with this prospect's business, right? So they're a marketing agency, they operate in Illinois, and they target plumbers and electricians, right? So it would reply with the full template saying, "Hey, I checked out your website, saw that you do this and that." So, and it would pop a couple of questions that are personalized to them. So that would be the ideal product. How far away are we from that?
I don't think that far at all. One thing that is a key element there is the actual real-time tool working. Like, did you see those updates on? I know they actually rolled out for a period of time. What was it on Bing, where ChatGPT could actually go scrape the web for real-time information? I actually wrote a LinkedIn post on this a couple of weeks ago. I got a message and somebody actually emailed me and they said they asked about Lead Goals Accelerator, but then they put acquired in parentheses. And I was saying how that shows a difference of personalization versus AI. Is AI probably would have had the context to know not to include acquired, because I have acquired mentioned multiple times in my profile to show that I sold the business. It would be able to put two and two together. It could make those assumptions that a personalization cannot. And obviously, if you have questions off the podcast, let me know about that. But what AI can do is actually crazily powerful is the way I would put it. It just can't always, but it doesn't think like a human. Like, you have to direct it very, very clearly. One thing that would be helpful, if you don't know this already, examples are very powerful in ChatGPT. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. It took me hours and hours and hours of playing around with different prompts guidelines to figure it out. But the reason why it's powerful is because it's giving it a clear example to actually model off of, rather than saying keep your sentences to 10 words per sentence or something like that. Just put a 10-word sentence.
Yeah, impersonation as well. You are X, and this is who you're speaking to. This is the tone that you can adopt. So yes, indeed, very powerful. Which reply assists, my understanding is that you're bootstrapping that. Do you pay a team of devs, or do you have a co-founder that's technical and helping you?
Fortunately, I have a really good CTO. The guy's a genius. That just stumbled upon through friends. Otherwise, what I would have done is I had a previous advisor for a business in college. He actually has an AI background, and I would have hired overseas developers. But although we'll need to hire a large development team soon, fortunately, the CTO, Justin, he's covering things really well right now. It's just as we start to monetize, we'll just need to have a bigger team. There's only so much people can handle. But yeah, bootstrap, that's another thing that was really nice is I've gotten better over the years, but I used to be a big control freak. And I understand having a slice of the pie, like that's, that whole argument, would you rather have a large slice of a small pie or a small slice of a large pie, like that one, that's fine. Like equity is one thing, but I didn't want to have to take on I didn't want to have to raise any capital, whether equity or debt, unless I absolutely had to. The problem with debt is obviously then you actually have to pay money back. And it just, it's that additional burden. And then I didn't want to have to give up equity because I didn't want to have to actually give up parts of the business unless I had to. I'm kind of going on a merry-go-round, but yeah, bootstrapped, long story short.
And what are your top 3 goals for the remainder of this year?
This year or the first 12 months?
This year, and you can cover 2024 as well.
Okay. This year, obviously, we want to get the product launched. Get the product launched in December. I would like to see growth pick up pretty quickly. I would like to see our first 100 customers, not just users, first 100 customers. And oh, I would have to think on number 3. Probably make our first developer hire just because of the ongoing maintenance. I'm not too focused. I'm not too focused. I'm not concerned about the sales and marketing because of how intentional we've been with building the product. We just need to make sure the product works completely as intended, and then it'll grow well. So I guess those 3, and then for next year, I don't know. I'd have to take some time to think on that one, quite frankly.
You don't need to have always all the answers. You can meditate and have a long walk like you like doing in silence and get these insights. So thank you for your candor today, Austin. It's been quite helpful and inspiring. Where can people find out more about you?
Just look me up, Austin McCulloh. Obviously, the last name is spelled MCCULLOH. I keep it the same way on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I don't actively use Twitter. I don't use TikTok. I just don't like to have the additional distractions, but they're great platforms. But yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
And I'm Charles Cormier, host. That was another Founder Wisdom Podcast.com.